Hello and welcome to Spotlight Next Gen Careers. Today I'm joined by digital marketer and Instagrammer Sammi Manoff. Hello Sammi, welcome.
Hello, it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Sammi is the creator of Sweet Cravings _X, amongst other accounts, and I've invited her to appear here on Spotlight Next Gen Careers to talk to us about her career path to date and her plans for the future. The idea behind this interview series is the importance when looking at careers and getting young people to engage with career resources, to have role models like Sammi that they can relate to, and why we need more young people to share their experiences with teenagers, school leavers and graduates. Sammi features in my book, Making Millions, How Ordinary Teens Can Transform into Seriously High Earners. The book is due for release in early March. Sammi, it's great to have you on here.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited, and I hope I can say something somewhat useful for, even if it's just one person out there, then that would be fantastic.
And I'm sure you will. I'm quite convinced of that. Sammi, can you tell us a little bit about your early forays into Instagram? What was driving that interest?
Yeah, so sure. So back in, I'll say 2017, so I was 16, 17, doing my GCSEs, and it was in the summer, so just after GCSEs, I went on holiday with one of my family friends, and we were just having a conversation, you know, as you do, talking about social media, talking about Instagram, what attracts people to like certain posts, and like how do you influence an audience? And this was kind of the time where influencers were kind of coming up. It wasn't really like how it is today, and everyone's posting everything and influencing everything. And we were like, why don't we take the most random thing we can think of and share that amongst an audience and see if we can use different techniques, and whether that was hashtags, whether that was different captions, whether that was just promoting a post of a couple of pounds and seeing how far it can actually go, and, you know, testing out different content, etc., and how you can influence and attract an audience. And we were like, oh, it's never going to work. Essentially, we picked the color blue because we thought random, you know. So we were on holiday, as I mentioned, so, you know, perfect. We had a blue sky. That's, I think, what we started with. And we were like, right, amazing. We'll post a picture of blue sky. And we kind of upped the content quite quickly. And whether that was, it was basic things. It was a blue pen, or I got a blue phone, for instance, right? So it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. And what we found was, by posting all of these random objects, and whether that was even just Googling images of blue things, we actually managed to get quite a lot of followers in quite a short amount of time. And we grew to about 1,000 followers in the first 6 months. And we were like, oh, this is crazy. And we were like, how are people interested in this? That's what really, you know, sparked something off in my head, to say the least. And I was looking into the insights, and originally I just had it as a normal Instagram account, and you can see the basic insights as to like the top locations where people have come from and the age range. And then we were kind of adapting the content to those audiences, and then obviously it was growing from there. But yeah, that's kind of how it first kick-started, and I carried on with that.
And
then
I loved that part. I mean, that's why I really wanted you to feature in the book, because when I read about you, was quite young and you were hypothesis testing already on how to engage people and how to get followers and what works and what doesn't on social media. And I thought this was just so great that you were at that age already experimenting with social media and how to make it work for you.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's just, I feel like it's something that's always been in me. I love social media. I'm very pro social media. Obviously, I can see both sides of it 100%. And I feel like everyone should have a control of that and of their use of social media, whether that's how much you genuinely, your daily usage of it, whether that's who you follow, because I feel like that can have a massive impact in your life. I know even for myself, a couple of weeks ago, I went through my followers on my personal Instagram page, and I was like, I don't need to follow all these people. And you know, you see everyone, especially at the moment, it's like they're on holiday, they're doing this, and it's like we're stuck in lockdown. So I think it's, you know, adapting it to your own life and what's good for you. So just going back to my story just quickly. So after setting up Colours Blue, I kind of thought to myself, why don't I do something that I'm really passionate about and I can actually have an influence about and get excited about, rather than just the colour blue, for instance. So wrote down a list of my passion points, literally on a piece of paper. And the one that came out on top was food. Anything about food, I love. My eyes light up. You mention the word food, and it's just, I'm there. You don't need to convince me at all. So I wanted to kind of pick. I've been doing like media in school, and we learned a lot about like niche categories and how to make things stand out. So I thought, right, I'll pick one category rather than go vague, and then I can always build it out like later on along the line. So I kind of went along the line of desserts originally, and that was anything from brownies to pancakes. I mean, it wasn't very healthy, I'll say that, to say the least, but it definitely looked good and tasted good. Freak shakes, waffles, you can think of it, and I basically ate it, posted it, shared it, etc. And yeah, I kind of, use the same techniques, use the same like digital marketing aspects that I suppose you could call them now. And again, my followers kind of started to build up. I looked into different ways. I went to a couple of like classes, like webinars, but like events, webinars in real life. It's weird to think of things in real life these days. And I was just learning kind of as I was going. I never had any massive teaching about it before. It's all very much self-learned.
And I think that's good advice. Sorry, Sammi, but that also is good advice for young people starting out now, because that thing that you're saying, that you didn't have training in it necessarily, you were just experimenting, you were testing things, and you set up something that you were passionate about, and then you found all these people who engaged with you who are also passionate about desserts and sweet things. And so I think this is really a lovely story, and it's great advice for young people who are maybe confused by career advice or not knowing where they're going to go with their career, because you took that, didn't you, Sammi? So let's move a little bit ahead to your A level. So then you've done your A levels, and so the interesting thing for me at this point is university versus work, and I just want to know how you made some decisions at that point in your life, and what had your career advice been to that point?
Yeah, so for my A levels, I did media, psychology, and sociology. So I suppose a little bit creative, a little bit, just they did actually kind of link together. I picked those first of all, again, because I had a passion, because I had an interest in each of them. And I think that's very much something that's followed along in everything that I've done in my life. Whether you think about, or, Sweet Cravings kind of came from it. I look at the GCSE options that I did, obviously that was prior. I might look at my A levels, I look at what I've chosen to do I ended up at Google, and then what I'm doing now is very much passion points, and it's very much what I enjoy. And I think, just as a starting point and a bit of advice, it was actually my mum who's always kind of, pushed that into me. And she's always said to me, just do what you enjoy, because when you do stuff you enjoy, that's what drives you. And 100% that I can speak for that entirely. And don't get me wrong, I think you should go outside your comfort zone and try different things. But if you use that main passion point or a couple of passion points, and let that push you and let that guide you, you kind of find you want to work for it. And that's definitely something that's motivated and, inspired me along the way. So yeah, first of all so I did that for my A levels. That we did have a careers advisor at school, who I went to. I think everyone had to book in an appointment or had an appointment once. It probably wasn't the most useful thing in my eyes. Just it didn't really align with everything I was looking at, or they kind of told me stuff that I knew already, and I hadn't done too much research, but they were just kind of covering the basics. And my school, I would say, pushed university quite a lot. If I look at all my friends, I'm the only person out of my friends who didn't go to university. And in a way, that makes me feel quite proud of that now. I see where I am, I see where they are, and we're in different industries, of course, but that kind of drives me. It's like, this really can lead you to a proper career, and it's not university is the only option. Just going back a second, I'm jumping around a bit here, I do apologize.
No, it's great. You're doing brilliantly. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, so my options, I knew in my head university would have to be an option. my friends were doing it. It was very much, that's the, I say, culture I've been brought up in. You know, it's the traditional path. It's, you do your GCSEs, you do your A levels, you go to university, you get a job. That's life, right? And I've never been the type of person to be like, oh, I'd love to go to university. And I know some of my friends have, and I went round and I looked at plenty of universities, and I even applied to universities, and I got 4 unconditional offers and 1 conditional offer. So it's not like I definitely did have the, without, you know, without being vain, but I definitely have the ability to go to university. I got in. I even got a scholarship from offered a scholarship from, or like part scholarship from
That
my
doesn't
first.
that doesn't surprise
My
me at all, Sammi, by the way.
No, I even got offered a, you know, like a part scholarship for my first choice uni.
Mhm.
And I kind of thought that I would end up going in the back of my head somewhere, because I was like, oh, it's an easy option to follow the crowd. And I think university is an amazing option for certain things. And I think you've got to be the right type of person to go. I think, you know, it comes with a lot of sides, and I love the social side. And I know I would have enjoyed that. I very much, you know, like being sociable, making new friends, meeting new people. And I thought that's the side that would drag me to do that. And every time I went to sit in a like practice lecture, or, you know, just whatever you do on the like university open days, it just never excited me. And I was like, it's okay, but it's not anything amazing.
And
And
because I can quite see that, you know, if you tested some of those things, or you sat into lectures and you weren't excited about it, but so I'm sure that made you consider and really think about, well, is this the path for me? But in terms of, I'm just going to take you now a tiny bit forward again because then eventually you got something that's very coveted and that a lot of people want, and it's a very, very competitive market at the moment. And so the route that you chose next, Sammi, is that you applied for and got an apprenticeship with Google, and this is a much sought after apprenticeship. But just before we talk about it, I just want to see, had you considered, as you were sitting in practice in lecture theatres, you know, having some sort of a practice run at what it would be like to be at university, at the back of your head, were you thinking work is an option, is an alternative to this, or were you already thinking about apprenticeships?
yeah, I think I always had in my mind that I didn't want to go straight into work. I wanted to either do my main 2 options were not work, were university and were apprenticeships. They were my 2 options, really. And so I've kind of covered the uni side, and I think apprenticeships, it's always kind of been a thing. I've talked about it with my parents, and I've spoken about it with my friends. As I mentioned earlier, my friends have all chosen the university route.
Yeah.
I think for an industry like advertising, marketing, especially digital marketing these days, I do genuinely believe that the apprenticeship route can be so much better. You're literally learning on the job. And I think the way I kind of got into that, so I actually found the apprenticeship originally through a website called Not Going to Uni.
Yes. Yes, I know them. Yes.
Yeah, it was literally just a matter of Googling things, searching through pages, and again, following my interests, following my passion points. I saw the one come up about Google. And I actually found that when I was in year 12. So I found that the year prior to applying for university.
Yes.
And I followed them on, I went through the whole application, and I found that there was a company at the time called White Hat. They're now called Multiverse, who they're the training provider for this apprenticeship at Google. And they also had one at Facebook running that year. So I followed them on social media, sent them a message and said, like, hey, I'm really interested. Is it possible you can give me more information? I have a year until I actually need to apply. What's kind of the best things I can do to like set myself up? How can I be in the best position possible? And they came back and they said, you know, stuff like Google Digital Garage. amazing. You know, it's just adding all to your like knowledge. It's just helping frame you as a person.
Yes.
So that's kind of what I did. I then had that in the back of my mind, you know, obviously as I was looking at these universities, and it came to the year later, and the Google one came back up. The Facebook one didn't, and the Google one did. And I looked at it, and I went to. It was a long application process. That's what I'll say. It wasn't.
Yes, I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you about that. And again, it's just for young people who might be just so interested in everything
Yeah.
that you're saying. And the process that you're outlining is great for young people to hear, Sammi. And what was, I imagine it was extremely competitive. And can you tell us a little bit about the application form and then how many interviews there were and so on?
Sure. So applied through White Hat. They're the training provider.
Yes. They're now called Multiverse. Yeah.
They're now called Multiverse. So I had to originally apply, just put in my application. And I think that literally consists of sending off your CV. I can't really remember if I had to write a cover letter. My friend actually asked me the other day, did you ever have to write a cover letter? And I looked everywhere, I couldn't find one.
Yes.
Don't take my word for it. You may have to write a cover letter, but I know I definitely sent off my CV. And then I got invited into White Hat. Obviously, this was pre-pandemic, so we could do things in person. And that was for a kickoff day. And now that kickoff day basically highlighted what apprenticeships were, the benefits of apprenticeships. One thing I loved instantly was the fact that you get a community of people. And I think going back to that social element that I just talked about just quickly with university, I'm very much a social person. I'll go to the uni for the social because I want to meet new people. I want to, branch out and, just go along that path. And I think one amazing thing that Multiverse have is this apprenticeship community, and whether that's, I was fortunate enough to have 20 other apprentices in my cohort at Google who are now some of my best friends, which is amazing. But it also meant that I could connect to the White Hat community, which I'll explain. I'll go into more detail afterwards.
Yes.
But just going back to the application process, so I had a kickoff day. They basically sat down with you. You had a group session, first of all, where they explained all the benefits. They kind of observed, or I definitely felt like they observed how you were interacting with others, how you were given a few tasks to do. Would you kind of take the lead? Would you sit back? Would you interact with everyone else? How much input were you giving? And one tip I think I'd give with that is, and something that someone said to me before one of my Google interviews actually was, if you're doing a group activity, don't rush to be the person to manage everyone, because that doesn't always work out, and that doesn't always work out in your favor, because it can come across too bossy and it can come across, overpowering. But actually, if you sit down and you're like, right, guys, let's all play to our strengths. Who's good at maths and can work out that section, who's good at like video and production, and if you were needed to make something of that, etc., etc. And that was definitely a tip that I use. Who's good at time management? Let's keep on track, let's get everything in. We have a 20-minute period, let's get everything done within that time, so it's completed as well as it can be. And then we got taken off into individual like one-to-ones with a talent manager, and we talked through different apprenticeships that they had available. I kind of went with the idea that Google was my focus. I remember I printed off the application, I took it in a portfolio, and I said to them, I was like, this is the one that I really do want. And you have a discussion. They kind of have like a mini mock interview, I'll call it, but it's not like anything formal and proper serious. They just want to understand what you're like. And then I went home, waited a few days. I then got a phone call, and I remember I was driving again. Every phone call I seemed to get, I was driving. So I was driving, and they said, can we ask you a few questions? And this was again from Multiverse. And I said, yeah, that's absolutely fine. And they kind of just threw me straight into an interview, like then and there on the phone. And it was any questions, I can't remember all the questions, but it was anything from, first of all, it was just a chat. And then it was, tell us about your favorite ad campaign, and what does SEO stand for? And, so anything kind of in the digital marketing field, anything, just they don't expect you to know it all. And this is what I figured throughout the whole entire apprenticeship, from application to the end. No one expects you to go in as an expert. They don't want you to go in as an expert. They want you to go in with that passion to learn, with the enthusiasm, just the willingness to learn. That's what they want. They don't want you to go in and know it all, right? And I think one great thing about that is the fact that they can mold you, and that they can, you are learning from, you know, people higher than you, and you're learning from especially taking my, you know, experience at Google. I think I'm learning from experts around me every single day. But I know I'm jumping ahead again, sorry, just going back to the application process. So I got a phone call, I passed that phone call interview. I then had to do another application video. I had to do another application video just on White Hat's website, or Multiverse's website, which was just for them. And I don't know if that ever got sent off to Google or not. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I know that it was in conversation somewhere. And then and then I had to do a final task with White Hat before they submitted my application to Google. So it's quite a long process. Anyone who says apprenticeships are easy to get, no way at all.
They're quite competitive. And in terms of that task, that final task, Sammi, that you were asked to do, what was that? Because so far you've had a group, a type of group assessment. You've had an interview that happened in your car. You had to do an application video. So that's sort of 3 strands. And then you said you had to do another task at Multiverse. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the task essentially was sent over a brief. And the brief was, it was something around, it was about digital marketing, and it was about looking at different insights and using different Google products. I'm not 100% sure if this is one they use for digital marketing apprenticeships, or if this is one they use for Google apprenticeships. Because I know that I had to do that, but Google is the only apprenticeship that I applied to.
And it doesn't, in fairness, it doesn't need to be very specific. It's not like we're trying to figure out exactly what the kind of exercises that you're being given, but young people do need to know what the process is. So you were effectively given some task to do that was testing your knowledge, your sort of your broad knowledge in the area of marketing. Is that?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Look, I reached out. It's again not expecting you to know it. Yes. I Googled a million things. I asked people around me. I went to school and I asked my teachers. So all of the resources that I kind of had available, I tried to use them as much as possible.
Yes.
You know, so I feel kind of grateful in the fact that I kind of was able to reach out to those people and get that little bit of help. And then I summed that up into, I suppose it's an essay type, you know, document. And then I sent that off. And then after that, I heard that I was getting put through to Google, to the Google interviews now. So I'd completed all of the multiverse stuff, and I'd finished that, and I got through that, and now it was Google's turn. And I think it's just a you know, well-known thing that Google interviews are very hard, and they're challenging, and they're meant to be challenging. So with Google, it was just one assessment day. Well, the one assessment day consisted of a tour, which was amazing. First of all, a tour around like the office, and it was just chatting to you had to just chat to other people around you, and they watched you, observed you do so. Then we were split into groups, and you had to do a group task, and you went into a room, and there was a whole load of people it was quite intimidating, but you just have to, it's one of those things you if you think about it too much, it can get you. And I'm very much that type of person. I'm like, I can get overwhelmed quite easily. I was thrown into a room. I was put into a group of 5 people who I'd met on that day. I'd met like half an hour before, hadn't even spoken to all of them. And we're sitting in front of, must have been 20 people from Google, you know, who are marketing experts, and they're sitting there, they're not judging you, they're observing you, I suppose. And you get given a brief. They're very amazing people, and they sit down and they calm you down and they talk through it. So they'll explain every single step. as in they do throw you in the deep end, but they'll guide you through that process to get to the deep end. So we got given a brief. I don't think I can share exactly what the brief was on, but essentially we got given a brief, and we had to create a presentation and a video within, we had 20 or 30 minutes. So we split our group up. We each had a laptop. We could do our research on the topic that was given. We then created a group, like a Google slide, so we could all add to it. And there was 5 different topics, so we took a topic each. So I remember I took like audiences, and I looked into the products that we were given. I looked into the key audiences for that. Who are we targeting? Who are we? So you're just breaking all of those elements down.
This is where all of your hypothesis testing on Instagram came into play, because this is what you love, is how to engage an audience. What do you have to talk about? What do you do? So I can see that audiences would have been a good match for you.
I definitely jumped for that. I was like, I'm gonna get that first. And just a couple of the other topics. One of them was very mathsy, like mathematical. So there was one girl who was doing like maths and further maths for her A levels, so she was like, I don't mind doing that. So it kind of, they put groups together where everyone kind of can take things. Another one was video, and we had to film like a quick like ad video for the product, and explain our findings. And then at the end of that 20 minutes, we had to get up in front of the 20 Googlers and we had to present. And it was like the scariest thing in the world if you think about it. And you've got 20 marketing experts sitting in front of you, and you're coming in, you've just, you're still at school. And I had to take the day off school for it, I remember. So I was just at school, about to do my A levels. And now I'm standing in front of these people at Google, and it's very much, it feels like a Dragon's Den pitch in a way. And because you're trying to win them over, you want to get your best self across. So that was part of the assessment day, and that went really well. Like, it was very, very good. And it's one of those things you throw yourself into and you really can get into it. And you have amazing people around you, and they're really helpful, all of the Googlers who were sitting in the room. And then the other part was you have 2 one-to-one interviews. So each of those interviews lasted between 45 minutes and an hour. And so they were anything from like Googliness and leadership. So trying to find out, what have you done? Tell me a time questions. Tell me a time you've, maybe not exactly these questions, don't take my word for it, but like, tell me a time you've been a good leader. Tell me a time you've solved a problem. Tell me a time that you've been in a challenging circumstance and how you've worked your way out of it. And I think one thing that they're looking for within that is how you break down things. How have you gone through that process? It doesn't matter what the problem might have been, right? It could have been the smallest problem in the world, or it could have been the biggest problem in the world. But it's how you worked through that, and it's how you dealt with that problem. So that was, go on, sorry.
So far you've had a presentation to do, a group presentation to do, and then you followed by 2 one-to-one interviews, critical incident type interviews.
Yes.
Was there another part of the process?
So that was the main assessment day. They were the main aspects. The rest of it was like, it was just fun things. It was like lunch, and we got a talk, and we got like some swag from Google with, like all of the jumpers and stuff. So that, it was just cool. It was just really nice. Yeah. And then that was I say that was it, but there was quite an intense day. It lasted, it was proper like 9 to 5 day. It was an amazing day, that's what I'll say. And I know that I definitely came out that day and thought, I was in the mindset where if I don't get it, it's been an amazing process. It's been amazing learning curve, and I'll walk away. Maybe I won't walk away just as happy, but I'll walk away still very proud of where I've got to, and I know that I did my best on the day. And I think that's all I can ever ask of myself, right? I'm kind of a perfectionist in a way. I always want to do things, always want to get things right. But I was really happy at that point, and it went really well. And they said to us, right, you can have up to 4 weeks before finding out. And I'm thinking, oh my God, 4 weeks is a long time, right? Especially when you're waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yes.
And luckily mine wasn't 4 weeks. Mine was actually about 5 days, 4 or 5 days. And again, I was in the car driving on the motorway this time. And I got a call from California, and I was like, I don't know anyone in California. Why is someone in California calling me? And I wasn't going to answer it. And funnily enough, my friend was sitting in the car, and in my car, you can touch the screen and it answers the call. And he just clicked it. He was like, you have to speak to me. He goes, you never know, it might be Google, you don't know, because it just came up like unknown number, but from California. And I answered it, and there was a woman on the other side of the phone, and she goes, I'm calling from Google in California. And she was like, started asking me questions, how I thought the interview went and all of this stuff. And then
So I'm so excited. I'm just like so excited for you. I'm almost in the car whilst you're getting this now, you know.
I was freaking out entirely, because I'm thinking, I didn't get it, and I'm literally and I'm driving. I had to pull over. I came off the motorway, and I was like, I can't drive and do this, and because I had no clue what was going to happen. And she was like, we loved you and we'd love to. It was quite a long conversation, but the short of it was, we loved you and would love to offer you, you know, the apprenticeship, a place on the apprenticeship if you would like to. And I was like, yes, of course I would love to. Like, I didn't even hesitate about it once, to be fair.
And how soon after that did you start, Sammi? And then can you tell us just a little bit about, you know, what was the day-to-day part of the apprenticeship like? So you had X amount of time then before you started, and then talk to us about your daily routine as you were doing the apprenticeship.
Yeah, sure. So just before I talk about my daily routine, I found out, it's quite a long time, that's what I will say. I found out on the 16th of April 2019 that I got the role. So I interviewed on the 11th of April, my final interview at Google. Found out on the 16th of April, didn't start Google. We had a couple of prep days in between, and they invited us in to meet each other, because like I mentioned earlier, my cohort, there was 20 of us. We had a couple of those through September. My starting date was the 21st of October. So it was quite I suppose most of my friends were going to uni end of September. I had about an extra 3.5 weeks after that. It's a nice summer, that's what I'll say. It's a very nice summer, and if you can if you're fortunate enough to get away on holiday, it's a very good time to go on holiday.
And you had now something organized, and you know, you actually had some kind of structure coming up. So in fact, you could afford to just relax and have a good time in that interim period.
Exactly. So it was meant I could get excited. It meant I could prep things. It meant I could, like what I said before, the Google Digital Garage. That's a great thing to do. So I know I was doing these things, you know, just before I was starting, reading up on things. I was already in contact with my team. So I said to them, please send me over anything I can read before, just get involved in, help my understanding, you know, just briefly even understand, how does Google work? It's very, I mean, I can only speak for Google, but it's complicated. You know, you look at the structure of the company, it's huge, it's global. I'm coming from school with my group of friends, and now I'm going to one of the biggest organizations in the world. So
what kind of, how many hours were you doing? Long hours in your days, and how were your days structured?
Yes, so obviously at the beginning I started off in the office. It was very fun, it was amazing, and there's a lot of perks that come with working for Google. Free food is being one of them. And I, like, you know, like I mentioned earlier, massive foodie, you can't beat it, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, I'll take the lot. Yeah, my days, I roughly started, I'd get into the office just before 9, about 9ish. I'd then go for breakfast with either my team or with the other apprentices. And then probably start work between 9:15 and 9:30ish. And that would be, I'd literally go and sit at my desk, or again, like Google, the way Google's kind of set up is there's different spaces you can go and work in and different pods you can sit in. So I kind of move around those and go into different meetings and like etc. And I'll kind of go into my role a little bit more in a second. And then yeah, I'd have like an hour's lunch, kind of as you do. And then I used to finish up around 5:30, 6. I've always been the type of person where I feel like you should put in hard work, and especially I know my position. I know, yes, I'm working for Google, but at the end of the day, I am an apprentice and I am the junior person there. And I did want to prove myself, especially at the beginning. I want to create that good reputation, and I want to set that like precedence for others going along. And fortunately enough for me, I had an amazing group of people around me. And like I mentioned, they're some of my best friends now, and you kind of see very similar traits in people, and everyone's very hardworking and wants to do well.
And you had your own mentor. I'm
yes.
not sure if that's the term that you use, but you did have someone that you could go to with any issues or for guidance. So you had a dedicated person just to deal with any queries that you had. Is that correct, Sammi?
Yeah, no, that's totally correct. I mean, the way that the apprenticeship program set up at Google is fantastic. The support is unbelievable. You have an apprenticeship team who you can easily go and speak to. I mean, Googlers in general are very nice people. Everyone's very open to always have a conversation with you, and whether that's a project, whether that's a career chat, a life chat, whatever that might be. You're actually given a specific, so you have a mentor and you have obviously your line manager. Most people's fall within their teams. So my mentor was one of the people who actually interviewed me. So I've always said to him, I actually said to him just on Friday, I was like, you don't know how grateful I am that you said that you gave like good feedback about me. I was like, because you're basically the one who's changed my life. So it's amazing when you know that's happened. So I had a mentor in my team, and I've actually changed mentors once, because my old mentor moved countries. And then I have my line manager, who's the manager in my team for like everyone in my team. And yeah, both of them extremely supportive. The way I kind of, or we structured it, was my mentor was my everyday go-to. So we'd have catch-ups every day or every other day. If I had any questions, if I had any like queries, if I had any I didn't really have problems, but if I had any problems or things that I was just unsure about, I could go to him. I could, he sat opposite me in the office, right? And even when working from home, I can ping him any time of the day, like send him a message. That's very open, open communication. And I think when you can build that like up with someone, that's really great. And yeah, that's definitely helped my work, and it means that I've learned a lot. And then my manager, I speak to like a couple times a week as well. Again, he was really great. Career guidance. He's been at Google quite a long time. So just explaining to me, understanding the world of work. Like I said, came out of school, right? I literally just been in school. How does a workplace work? How can you work with a team and work with people who are so knowledgeable? And so essentially, just to explain my role, to make it maybe a little bit more clear and give some more context. Yes. So I was in a sales team. So the way it's split up is you're split into marketing or sales, right? So I was told I was in a sales team originally and thought, this isn't what I applied for. This isn't digital marketing. However, I'm so glad that they do that. And I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to be in sales. It was incredible. So I was in LCS. So there's like 3 different categories within Google. I was in LCS, which is large customer sales. So essentially you're working with just some of the biggest like clients of Google's. So, and then you're split into different pods, which are essentially different teams. So my pod was called Performance Markets. So we work in like the entertainment, like gaming entertainment industry. So we'll do anything around like sports betting, e-gaming, etc. So I work with like gambling clients. And we would focus on sports books. So it was quite events based. So I'd look at anything from the Premier League to I worked on some of the Euros stuff and then it got moved. So the Euros, we worked on horse racing, so like Cheltenham, Aintree, Ascot, all the like boxing matches, UFC, etc. You kind of get the point. And that was really great, really interesting industry, very fast paced. So yeah, I feel very, very fortunate to work like kind of within that team. And it's quite following my niche thing. It's kind of a niche category. So it was really interesting to actually see that world. And it's not something that I feel like gets shared about in the everyday life. Again, it was really positive for me to have that experience.
Sammi, would you recommend?
Yeah, I think that.
Sorry.
What would I recommend?
Would you recommend, now that you've gone through this entire experience, and would you, if you were to speak to young people who are about to do their A-levels next year or whatever, would you advise them to take the route that you've taken?
1,000,000%. I don't even doubt it in my mind. I think if you're interested in digital marketing, especially, and I can very much talk for that side and for that industry, 1,000,000%. It's amazing. It allows you to be hands-on. It allows you to be working with like leading market experts, right? You're working with such high people in the industry and like key stakeholders for every single project that you're doing, and you really do get involved. And I think from day one, I was never treated as the apprentice. I think that's a very stereotypical thing. You go into it and people are like, oh, but you're going to be given the filing, whatever that like stereotype might be. Very much like, as in, yes, you do a little bit of admin here and there, but I think that comes with any job, right? And again, like I said before, I'm very much of the understanding you are the youngest person there. You do some of the some of those bits, and that's absolutely fine. However, 99% of everything that I did was exactly what the rest of my team were doing. I was getting involved with clients. I was getting involved with internal projects. So I actually led the summer campaign for like Googlers internally, and they've never obviously they've never done it virtually before. Usually it's in person, but it's never been done like that. And they were looking how they can change it, and I kind of proactively stepped in and said I was looking for a new opportunity, wanted to get involved with a new team, something new, just on top of my like normal day job. And yeah, I think that was the fact I got given the opportunity to lead that campaign, and it was incredible. Again, I speak to all of the people that I worked with. It allowed me to get my name out there a little bit more as well, and give me, that reputation. It was a really successful event, and it kind of allowed me to, I say, prove yourself in a way, to show I can do it. And don't get me wrong, it was challenging, it really was challenging, and it pushed me out of my comfort zone. But I feel like that's when you can learn the most. And when you're open to that, you're in that mindset, that's where you can, like, life can take you.
I love all of this. Sammi, what advice would you give to other young people starting out on their career today?
I think be open to opportunity. Like I just mentioned, I ran an internal campaign. I've done I've worked on loads of projects with clients, and I've never done that before. And I think do it, because why not? Go and speak to these people. You never know what can come from something, right? Be open. I've worked on some policy work before. Now, is that really in my comfort zone? Is that really what excites me and what I want to do? But I knew it was not really, but I knew it was going to be one task. And I thought, why don't I take this opportunity that I have, right? And I'll just try it out. And if I don't like it, that's absolutely fine. But at least I've given it a go, and at least I've given it a shot. And it turns out I didn't like it too much, but I've done it. I proved to myself that okay, that's absolutely fine that I don't like it. And I genuinely believe that it's just as important to find out what you don't like as to what you do like. And that really trust me, that helps you.
It does, absolutely does. And also, quite apart from the Instagram part, which I'm sure played some role in you getting past the highly competitive apprenticeship applications. So quite apart from that, you volunteered as well, haven't you, Sammi? All the way through your education, secondary education, you've been volunteering, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done a fair bit of volunteering for quite a few different companies. I mean, so I've always been involved with Jewish Care, like the way I've just kind of grown up and gone through their programs. So they have a program called Mikey, which is like motivational, inspirational knowledge education. And I went through that program myself. It was really great. Essentially, it's a leadership program. So you're learning about how to work with different people. You're learning about how you can lead a team, how you can, just be part of a team and get involved, and just like those key essential skills. And I think you're meeting loads of new people at that like group within the group that you're in, and that's kind of what's helping you and guiding you through. And I completed that program a couple years ago now, and for the last few years I'm now a leader for that program. So every week I like lead it for kids, so that's who are in like secondary school. It's like year 9 to 11, I want to say.
Okay.
No, year 9 to year 13. It's year 9 to year 13.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Sammi, what is next for you? What are your plans? And
so I'm meant to be starting in like 2 weeks. 2 weeks today I'm meant to be starting. So yeah, really, really excited. I think it will give me a great opportunity to understand a different client, understand from a client side. Right, it's great. I've got that Google perspective, right? And it's been the best experience of my life. I've met the best people. It's got the best culture. Like it's unbelievable company to work for, right? But what's it going to be like me now going into another company? What's it going to, and I think that I'm excited for that adventure, and I'm excited for that challenge and to see what faces me. And I think, again, I'm going to a really cool company who, again, is very forward thinking, who have done amazing through the COVID period as well. And yeah, it hopefully should be really exciting time. And I can't wait to get started. So yeah.
Great. What a lovely thing. I'm very excited for you. That's marvelous.
Thank
But you've
you.
got this fantastic energy, Sammi, and I'm so pleased that you decided to come on here, because I mean, it really is all about finding role models that young people can relate to. And because you're not that many years ahead of people at school, you're just, they can really envisage a path from your path. And so I just think having people like you talking to young people in this format, it really gives an awful lot of inspiration, I think. And your energy and the kind of things you've been involved in also gives them a pathway, so they can start maybe to volunteer, or they could think about an Instagram or account, or some kind of an account on social media. And so I do think that this is so worthwhile for you to come on here and talk to people. So I'm very grateful to you for that.
Thank you so much for having me. Like, I'm always happy to speak to people. If anyone wants to kind of reach out, you can reach me. Like you mentioned, Sweet Cravings on ScoreX on Instagram, even like through LinkedIn. I'm very, very open, very happy to chat to people. It's really nice. I've mentored a few people already. 2 people I've mentored already actually reached out to me on social media, and they both were successful, and they've both got into Google now. So they've been working at Google for the last 5-6 months, I want to say. They started about last September, October time. So that's, and a couple of those are through the apprenticeship program as well, which is like super great to see. And it's amazing to be like, oh, that's really cool that we spoke like last year and it was just an idea, and now I've actually helped you and guided you through, and now you're actually working for Google. It's really, really exciting. I think just it's an amazing opportunity. I think take every opportunity. Just going back to what you were saying, Sweet Cravings, how Colours Blue and Sweet Cravings, how they've helped me is immense, honestly, is unthinkable, right? I never in a million years thought I'll create these little Instagram accounts and they're going to actually lead me to something. I created them as a hobby for fun. I thought Colours Blue was a joke originally, right? it was only when it kind of started growing and I genuinely started seeing the interaction and the influence that it was having. And similarly, like when I went into the Google interviews, that was a massive thing that I talked about. I think anytime you can kind of take these opportunities, whether that's a blog, whether that's an Instagram page, whether that's a podcast, a YouTube channel, anything like that, or a portfolio of photography, whatever you're interested in, I think it's a great thing, and it adds to you and it gives you that personality first of all, and it gives you that one step forward to say, look what I've done this. I take just quickly, I look at all of my friends at Google, and it's amazing to see the type of people. And the one thing that I do see through everyone is everyone has something else. No one's just done their GCSEs, just done their A levels, and that's it, right? Everyone's got something different about them, whether it's me and I have Sweet Cravings as a blog, whether it's one of my friends has a fan page for a massive celebrity, or what is it, a couple of my friends have YouTube channels and they've been raising awareness about whether it's a disability or whether it's about a certain problem or issue going on in the world, or someone's created their own bar or wants to create their own bar. It's, I think it's having those extra things, having that
to give you that edge.
To give you that edge, exactly. I think if you're able to have that, I don't see, it doesn't matter what it's in, right? I think it's an amazing thing to have, and I think that definitely can put you one step ahead of the crowd.
Absolutely, I love all of that, and I address all of that as well in the book. I just, it's just lovely, Sammi, to have you on here today. Thanks again for giving us your time and your energy, as your usual energy. It's so lovely to speak to you, and I'll definitely speak to you again, but our listeners will have to say goodbye to you. I'm sure they're going to be very sad. Thanks again for sharing, and I'll be in touch with you fairly soon.
Amazing, thank you so much.
Have a great day, and many congrats on the job offer.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day, Sammi.
And you.
Bye-bye for now. Bye.
Bye.